Blood pooled on the cracked pavement, each drop mixing with the rain as Emily's trembling hands refused to let go of the man in her arms. His camouflage uniform was soaked crimson, his breathing shallow and uneven. She could barely feel her own body anymore, only the burning pain in her side, then her chest, then her stomach. 7 deep stabs, each one meant to stop her from doing exactly what she was doing, shielding him. Her vision blurred, but she wouldn't move. Not until help came. Not until he was safe. Just hours earlier, Emily Carter's morning had been ordinary. A 27-year-old nurse living in a quiet apartment above a bookstore, she was walking home from her late shift at the clinic when she heard it, a muffled cry, almost drowned out by the hum of the streetlights. Turning the corner into an alley, she saw him, a young soldier in a torn uniform, his face bruised, one leg twisted unnaturally beneath him. He was barely conscious, leaning against a dumpster. And standing over him, 3 men, armed with knives. Emily didn't think, she acted. She yelled at them to stop, hoping her voice alone would make them run. It didn't. One turned toward her with a smirk that froze her blood. They didn't see a threat, they saw another target. She dropped her bag, stepped between the soldier and the men, and shouted again. They moved fast. So did she. Emily had been trained in basic self-defense, but against 3 men with blades, her skills could only buy seconds. She blocked the first attack with her forearm, the blade grazing her skin, and shoved the soldier further behind her. The second man lunged. This time the knife found her ribs. Then her side, then her stomach. Pain erupted like fire in her veins, but she refused to fall. Somewhere in the chaos, headlights swept across the alley. A car screeched to a halt. The attackers scattered like shadows, disappearing into the night. A voice shouted for help. Emily collapsed beside the soldier, pressing her hands over his wounds while ignoring her own. "Stay with me," she whispered through clenched teeth. "You're going home." The next thing she knew, she was in a hospital bed. Bright lights, the steady beep of machines, the faint scent of antiseptic. Her entire body ached, every breath sharp and shallow. A nurse told her she had lost a dangerous amount of blood, that it was a miracle she was alive. But Emily's first question wasn't about herself, it was about the soldier. Was he okay? He was. Barely. And the only reason, the doctors said, was because she had kept pressure on his wounds, even as her own blood poured out. By morning, Emily expected only a quiet recovery. Instead, the knock on her apartment door almost shook the frame. When she opened it, her breath caught. Standing there, filling the hallway, were 6 Marines in full dress blues. The tallest stepped forward, his voice steady but carrying a weight of emotion. "Ma'am," he said, "we're here to thank you for protecting one of our own." Emily's throat tightened. She tried to speak, but the words stuck. The Marines stepped aside, and the soldier she had saved, Private James Walker, limped forward on crutches. His face was pale, his body thin from blood loss, but his eyes shone with gratitude. "You didn't know me," he said softly. "But you stood between me and death. I'll never forget that." The Marines presented her with a folded American flag and a challenge coin from their unit, a token they explained was only given to those who had shown extraordinary courage. Emily held it in her trembling hands, feeling the cool metal press into her skin. For a moment, she didn't feel like the tired nurse from the bookstore apartment. She felt like someone who had made a difference. In the weeks that followed, Emily and James formed an unspoken bond. He told her about his deployment, about the injuries that had sent him home early, and about the dark alley where fate had nearly ended his life. She told him about her work at the clinic, the long nights, the quiet moments when helping just one person was enough to keep going. But she never called herself a hero. In her mind, she had simply done what anyone should do, choose to stand when it would have been easier to walk away. Months later, she attended James's unit's homecoming ceremony. As Marines reunited with their families, James's mother hugged Emily like a daughter. And when the commanding officer spoke to the crowd, he mentioned her name, not as a footnote, but as an example. "Courage," he said, "is not the absence of fear. It's doing what's right, even when you're terrified." Emily Carter showed that courage isn't worn on a uniform, it's carried in the heart. The applause that followed wasn't for a soldier, or a nurse, or a survivor. It was for a woman who, in the darkest moment of her life, chose light. And though Emily never sought recognition, that moment, the flag folded in her hands, the Marines at her door, and the soldier alive because she refused to move, reminded her of a truth she would carry forever. Sometimes the bravest battles aren't fought overseas. Sometimes they happen in the streets we walk every day, when ordinary people decide to stand between danger and someone who can't stand alone.